I love this picture from Lego of a skeleton jumping out of a body. The great thing about Lego, of course, that it is tiny building blocks, and it's a lovely example of the same way that our cells are like the building blocks that make up our body. And so if you think about nourishment, what we need to do is nourish each and every tiny little cell in the body, because if we can meet the needs of each of those cells, then as a whole, we can keep ourselves very well. So is there a typical cell? Can we be typically well? This is actually a picture I've pinched from an anatomy physiology book that I had when I studied 23 years ago. And this typical cell, as it says here, it's only a composite for study purposes. There is actually not a cell in your body that looks like that. The typical cell just simply doesn't exist. Although obviously each and every cell has certain characteristics, and these are the characteristics of many of your cells. And so they have so many tiny little organelles inside them that we need to nourish and give the right ingredients in order to help them reproduce themselves healthily and run smoothly. And one of the things I work with, obviously from a cellular level, is helping people to do just that. So if we think about the body, there's so many different types of cells. You've got your cells that make up your nerve tissue, that make up your muscle tissue. Your bones have an entirely different set of cells. There's a lovely example in the middle at the bottom here of cheek cells, and they probably look like about the simplest of all of them. And then, of course, we've got blood cells, and so your blood cells should be free floating in your blood plasma as it's carried around the body. And obviously we want those to be free floating in the blood, not sticking together, clumping and clotting. And just the idea here that years ago scientists referred to a single living cell as a simple cell. And in actual fact, in the lives of a cell, Lewis Thomas suggested that a single cell is more complex than a city. And if you think about all the roles of the organelles inside the city, there are energy generators, invasion guards, transport systems, food factories, barriers, waste disposal, communication links. All of those functions are taking place in each and every one of your tiny little cells. And you've got, of course, mitochondria, which are the energy factory of the cells that generate ATP energy so that your cell can metabolize all that it needs to keep it functioning healthily. And I'll give you an example. There are 1,000 energy factories in every single liver cell that cleans 1,700 litres of blood a day, whereas in each sperm cell, because obviously the sperm has a long swim, but that's about it, there are only 25 energy factories. You have lysosomes that contain enzymes that can break down parts of the cell, components of the cell, or, if necessary, destroy the whole cell. You've got, and they have to be sort of careful guards and checks on them. Then you've got things like peroxisomes that detoxify harmful substances that might enter your cells. Especially you find those in your kidneys and your liver cells, because they are working very hard to keep your body clean and detoxified. And then you have things like ribosomes, which are tiny little protein factories. So if you would like to know more about how to keep all these little cells healthy, how to keep the insides of the cells working healthily, then please do get in touch. And if you've got any questions, please fire away and ask them. Be glad to hear.